how to be mentally tough, who was able to look at it and say, no, I'm good enough to learn here. I'm good enough to try some new shit. And that is the mark of a true champion. It's humility, true humility. You know, people think humility is, I don't brag about my success. No, dude, you guys got it all wrong. Humility is the skill of understanding that you can always improve. You can always get better. And you're no better than the work you do. So, I mean, dude, that's something most people just won't do.
All I ever knew was effort will get me seen on tape. Effort will get me noticed to get to the league. Effort would one day take care of my mom and my kids. Effort, which is between you and you. Nobody else can give you effort. Effort is with inside, man. And I'm still grinding because the next kid is talking about he getting too old. Keep watching me if I am. Nobody ain't got to convince me of what I do. I do what I do because I do what I do, because I'm built from something. Everything you're going through is preparing you for what you ask God for. You just got to quit tripping while you're in the process, because the process is necessary. You may not see it now, but when he gets you on the other side of it, you're going to see exactly why it went that way, and you're going to be okay with it. But quit tripping during the process. Oh, Lord, why me? You ain't the only one. Oh, Lord, why me? You ain't the only one. Oh, Lord, why I lose my job? You ain't the only one unemployed. Oh, Lord, why he leave me? You ain't the first chick got left. This might not even be your last time getting left. Pull yourself together and quit tripping, because you in the process.
So I ask, what is your wake-up call? What is enslaving you? What is controlling your thoughts? Is it the television set? Feeding your mind images of what life should be? Is it the internet drawing you in and controlling your time? Is it drugs or alcohol numbing your brain and diminishing your desires? Or is it weakness? A lack of discipline that prevents you from accomplishing what you want to accomplish.
Some of you are not where you want to be. You don't have what you want to have. You're not doing what you want to do because you've never been exposed to it before. And that's how my life changed. When I started hanging around millionaires, when I started hanging around successful business owners, when I started hanging around success, it rubbed off on the kid. Are you hearing me? I took those principles and bam, took them to another level. And I'm about to share some principles with you today for real. It's going to take you to a whole nother level. So last week I told you, shut up. Shut up. You talk too much and you never shut up. I told you to talk less and grind more. Are you hearing me? Talk less and grind more.
You know, there are so many people on the planet and they're really operating from the past. And here's what I mean. Something happened to them when they were little kids. They were told not to dream too big. They were told to dress like everyone else. They had a dream and the dream failed. Or maybe you were a teenager and there was someone that you loved and you got rejected. Or maybe you were 22 and you started a business and you failed in that business. And now it's 10 years later or 20 years later or 40 years later, and you're still living in the past.
Average person, you and I have about 75,000 thoughts a day rattling around in this thing we call our brains and our minds, 75,000 of them. The crazy thing is 91% of those thoughts are identical to the previous day and are identical to the day before that and the day before that and the day before that. And then we wonder why our life seems to repeat itself over and over again. So really the difference in our life, if we have 75,000 thoughts a day, here's the crazy thing, 91% of them are exactly the same. The separation in our life is in those 9% of their thoughts, because remember this, these magnets are pretty powerful. That's why I'm always saying that your obsessions become your possessions, because they do. You draw into your life exactly what it is you think about. It's a physical reality that you attract to yourself what you think about. So the difference in our life is 9% of our thoughts. That's why people say all the time the difference between winning and losing is so small, it's almost too scary to talk about. And really, we've identified what it is. It's 9% of what we think about alters the direction of our life. So what I'm here to tell you today is you've got to hone in and get aware of what you think about, and then alter those 9% of the thoughts that are variable on a daily basis to serve you.
These thoughts that we have, we think they're our thoughts, so it makes it really hard to change them. And people meditate and try to not think thoughts. Show me somebody that's done that successfully, consistently. They're full of shit. Okay? Everybody, the mind thinks thoughts. But here's the distinction. If I told you 100 years ago we were going to fly to the moon and back, you would have called me a lunatic. That's where the term comes from. And people still use it, and it doesn't make any sense, because a lunatic is somebody who thought we'd go to the moon and back and we've done it, right?
I didn't know that.
But if I would have told you 100 years ago that there's going to be a box in your pocket, and you're going to pull this thing out, you're going to hit a couple buttons, and then it's going to capture invisible waves that are drifting around the earth and bring the waves in, and you're going to see somebody on the other side of the earth and you're going to talk to them, you're totally nuts. Thoughts are those invisible waves. And when you use your body in a certain way, if I sit like this, I'm going to tap into a different channel of those waves than if I'm sitting like this. Kind of like a TV set. If I turn one channel, it might be a comedy channel. I'm going to see a lot of laughter. Turn another one, it's a horror channel. Turn another channel, it's a romance channel. This is what changes which of those waves you touch in. So if you can start to realize that your thoughts that you think are your thoughts, there's nothing unique about your thoughts. They've been around for thousands of years. You're just tapping into them because of what you're doing with your body that makes you either fearful or passionate or courageous or whatever you're feeling. As you go in those states, you get different thoughts. So what I want people to see is that learn how to just see those thoughts go by. Learn how to be entertained by those thoughts.
That means when you have opposition, when you have trouble and things come against you, God has a table there. The key is to don't fight with the opposition. Don't live worried, upset, stressed out. No, take a seat at the table God has prepared. If you will stay in rest, then God will go to work. But when you work, God rests. As long as you're uptight, worried, trying to make it happen only in your own strength, it will limit what God will do. The psalmist said, "Be still and know that He is God." Clear out the worry. Clear out the negativity. Live from a place of faith, a place of peace. God has you in the palm of His hand. Nothing you're facing is a surprise to Him. He said to the Israelites, "Stand still and you will see the deliverance of the Lord." He wasn't just talking about physically, He was talking about in their mind.
See, if you wake up every day and you say you're not a morning person, you're doing a serious disservice to yourself, because your attitude determines your altitude. A lot of your mornings start off bad because you've taken claim that you're not a morning person. Why would you not be a morning person when the whole goal is to wake up every morning? You got to be in the life-changing business. People have got to look at you like a light. Something should be in you that shows other people that there's hope. You don't know this about yourself, but you're going to be that person one day. And you got to start preparing for what you want to be. At least let God know you're glad you're alive. You don't let nobody else. You don't know it, but you're going to be a light one day. And people are going to look to you for that light.
I believe in winning the battle against yourself, because there's a lot of things you can control. When you wake up, I talk about making your bed. Make your bed. Make sure your house is clean. Make sure you get your breakfast. Make sure you shower, shave. Whatever you're doing, control that. Don't hit the snooze button. All these things are very important. That's been told a lot of times. Why don't you hit the snooze button? Because you wake up already failing. You're already behind the power curve. So what happens when you hit the snooze button? You may not make your bed. You may not pick the right clothes out in more time. So that's the mindset that I think it's important to bring with you every day you go, everywhere you go in life.
Time is the inexplicable raw material of everything. With it, all is possible. Without it, nothing. The supply of time is truly a daily miracle, an affair genuinely astonishing when one examines it. You wake up in the morning and lo, your purse is magically filled with 24 hours of the unmanufactured tissue of the universe of your life. It is yours. It is the most precious of possessions. No one can take it from you. It is unstealable. And no one receives either more or less than you receive. In the realm of time, there is no aristocracy of wealth and no aristocracy of intellect. Genius is never rewarded by even an extra hour a day. And there is no punishment. Waste your infinitely previous commodity as much as you will, and the supply will never be withheld from you. You cannot waste tomorrow. It is kept for you. You cannot waste the next hour. It is kept for you. I have said the affair was a genuine miracle. Is it not? You have to live on this 24 hours of daily time. Out of it, you have to spend health, pleasure, money, content, respect, and the evolution of your immortal soul. Its right use, its most effective use, is a matter of the highest urgency and of the most thrilling actuality. All depends on that. Your happiness, the elusive prize that you are all clutching for, my friends, depends on that.
How do you have time for anything? How do you have time to dink around on Facebook? How do you have time to watch hours and hours of TV? How do you have time to do anything? It's simply because that's where you put the priority. So don't tell yourself you don't have time. Just say it's not important. And maybe it isn't, and that's okay. But if it is, make the time to get it done.
If you do what is easy, your life will be hard. Complain, point at your circumstances, give up your power, blame the government. If you do what is easy, your life will be hard. But if you do what is hard, your life will be easy. It's hard to make a radical change in your behavior. It's hard to take ownership. It's hard to swallow the bitter pill that wherever you find yourself, at some point in time, you made an appointment to be there. That's hard.
Remember how you had a job interview for a job? We've had several of them in our lives. What did you do the night before the job, weeks before the job interview? When you knew you had it? You prepared you had a bowl out for your oatmeal, your cereal, whatever you had in the morning time. Your coffee cup was out. Your clothes were laid out. You studied, you rehearsed, you were ready. You brought your best self. You were going to war with yourself because you wanted that interviewer to see your best self. You won. You got the job. After a few months in that job, you look around. I got the job. Start to back off. The clothes aren't out. Hitting the snooze button. You don't get up on time anymore. You realize that you can still have this job and not be your best self. The interview you is gone. You have your job, but the interview you is gone. So winning the battle in the morning time is just that. It's that you wake up in the morning time and you own all this stuff. Because once you leave your house, the world then gets at you. And that's why I believe in not getting up in the morning time and checking your phone immediately. Everybody does that. They get up, the first thing they do is grab their phone, look at the phone. Maybe bad news on there. So how's your day start off? I don't go to the gym. You're caught up now on that phone. That's how your day starts. You lost control. So once you win that battle in the morning time, then once you go out, now you've won. You go outside your house, you may lose your job, you may have a bad hit, but you won something. So you're going into battle having already won something. Having already won. So then, if you hit the snooze button, you go out, you're just defeated already. You're behind the power curve. Now you've won something. You feel better about yourself. So now you're able to take these hits along the way.
Well, we all know sleep is really good for you. In fact, I cheat myself because I could probably, if I could sleep a little longer, I would probably be better, because all medical science tells you that how important, 7-8 hours of sleep is for each person. What I want to say to you is, when you wake up. Don't sleep during the day. Don't get a little bit unconscious and let life pass you. Be intentional. Go for it. Be in the moment. Be alert. Be aware. Seize the time. We don't have much of it. I guess what I'm really saying is, when you're awake, stay awake. Then when you sleep, it's a little bit more legal.
If one cannot arrange that an income of 24 hours shall exactly cover all proper items of expenditure, one does muddle one's whole life indefinitely. We shall never have any more time. We have, and we have always had, all the time there is. It's not that difficult to get something started. You run it for a while, and after a while it starts running you. That's part of the challenge. I told my staff one day, giving birth to a tiger is one thing, learning how to ride it is something else, right? Sometimes you start it, and then it turns around and starts giving you all kinds of trouble. If you're working already 8-10 hours a day, that's about it. You just can't work much more than that. Bursts at a time, you can work 12, 14, 16, right? I'm sure we've all learned to do that, put in the extra time. But after a while, you pretty well have to put your life in balance, or your health is in jeopardy, and your heart's in jeopardy, your blood pressure is in jeopardy, a lot of things, if you don't stay in balance. So you don't have to put any more hours, probably. All you have to do is just make better use of the hours. A cliche we've all heard. It's not the hours you put in, it's what you put in the hours that counts.
It's an urge. Truth be told, every champion has felt it. Every president has felt it. Every king has felt it. Every lion has felt it. Every winner has felt it. Every soldier has felt it. Every victorious person has felt it. The urge to quit. Don't you give up on your dream. I don't care if you don't have the money, you don't have the help, and you don't have the family for it, and you don't have the background for it, and you don't have the friends for it. Don't you give up on your dream. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. It may take you twice as long. You may have to take courses and classes. You might not read as fast. You might not move as quick. You might not have as much. But don't you quit. Don't you quit. Don't you quit. You do make a difference. You do make a difference. You do make a difference. As weak as you are, as tired as you are, as many mistakes as you made, you do make a difference. There is something they would lose if you were not there. There was something that they would miss if you were not there. You do make a difference. You do make a difference. You do make a difference. Keep hopping. It's for people that are trying to hop their way back home. Come hell or high water, doing the best they can with what they got. That's who we are, doing the best we can with what we got. And we may not break any ribbons and we may not get any trophies, but if we can learn how to hang on in there, we'll be all right. I will not lie to you, I feel like going on. But I have seen days I did not want to get out of bed, didn't want to put on clothes, and didn't even feel like brushing my teeth. I've seen days so dark that I just wanted to keep driving, and I didn't even care where I ended up or what you called me. They came, and they passed. And they came to pass. I kept the faith. I kept it. I lost a lot of stuff. I lost a lot of friends. I lost a lot of strength. I lost a lot of courage. I lost a lot of time. I lost a lot of money, but I kept down on my knees. I was still believing. Broke, I was believing. Lonely, I was believing. Betrayed, I was. If you lose a job, keep the faith. If you lose a spouse, keep the faith. If you bury your child, keep the faith. If you have to downsize, keep the faith. If you have to move in with your mama, keep the faith. If you're at your wit's end, keep the faith. If you have to catch the bus, keep the faith. If you have to come, keep the faith. If you get sick, keep the faith. If you lose your kidneys, keep the faith. If you got heart trouble, keep the faith. You might not get a new heart, but you got to keep your faith.
what is freedom of speech? It's the freedom to speak. So I read a politician today saying, I agree with freedom of speech, but there are limits. Well, there's no freedom of speech then. Freedom of speech is the freedom to speak. If anyone's not allowed to speak, then it's not freedom of speech, it's freedom to conform to certain parameters of what are acceptable. And then what that's doing is giving power to some authority to decide what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. And as we see, and we're seeing it massively now, once you give that power to an authority, it then starts interpreting what can and cannot be said in a way that squeezes and squeezes and squeezes more and more of what cannot be said. This is what political correctness is about. What is political correctness? It's simply manipulating the target population to silence itself, so those in authority don't have to. It's ridiculous. Now, people say, well, you say that people can say anything. Well, yes, I do, and I'll tell you why. There are laws against incitement to racism, incitement to hatred, incitement to violence. There are laws against that.
Are they laws you agree with?
Yeah, and if people use their freedom of speech to incite those things, then there are laws to deal with that, and those laws should deal with it. What I'm saying is, once you start censoring freedom of speech at the point of delivery, or even more sinister, before the point of delivery, by banning people from the right to have access to the communication networks or speak in public, that is what the fascists do. What did fascists do in Nazi Germany? What does any tyranny do? It wants to silence those that are exposing the tyranny and have a different version of events to the tyranny. So what did the Nazis do? They burnt the books. They banned the meetings of people who were exposing the Nazis. And now in this inverted world, we have people who call themselves progressives, and they seem to have this extraordinary self-delusion that progressive mentality has something to do with being liberal, when it's not. It's the opposite of liberal. They are the ones that claim to be wanting people to be inclusive and to have diversity.
But maybe on their terms.
When they're destroying diversity, and they have become the new tyranny. They have become the new Nazis. What I'm saying here is, if you look at what this progressive mentality is doing in silencing people and deciding in their arrogance what people can and cannot say and what opinion they can and cannot have, you look at what the Nazis did, you look at what the communist Soviet Union did in terms of freedom of speech, and you show me the difference between them. There is none. And it's this self-deluded arrogance which goes like this: I am right, therefore anyone who says something different must therefore be wrong, and by definition, because they are wrong and I am right, their freedom of speech to be wrong doesn't need to be taken into account.
First of all, if you don't have a purpose, let's say, it isn't that your life becomes neutral in a meaningless sense. It's that your life becomes characterized by unbearable suffering, because the baseline condition of life is something like unbearable suffering. And what you have to set against that is a noble and worthwhile purpose. And hopefully your determination of that purpose is buttressed to some degree by the wisdom of the past, because you can't conjure something like that up on your own. And if you provide people with nobility of purpose, then they can tolerate the suffering of existence without becoming entirely corrupted by it. And cultures that don't do that, it isn't even so much that they die, it's that cultures that don't do that are dead. They're done. They don't have a story anymore. They don't have a call to adventure. And then, well, then everyone suffers stupidly as a consequence. It's a very bad thing. So Churchill made the same observation that many of the great psychologists and philosophers made in the early part of the 20th century. So bring the story forward and propagate it and make it the most noble possible story. And then you motivate people to transcend themselves, which they need to do. So yes, he's exactly right in his diagnosis. People think of freedom as the ability to implement your whim. And freedom opens up that as a possibility. But sustainable freedom, that isn't what it's about at all. It's primarily about responsibility. It's about determining which load you're going to pick up and carry. That's the proper definition of appropriate freedom. It's not dim gratification of instantaneous impulse. It's self-evident that that doesn't work. 2-year-olds do that, and that's why they can't live in the world. They can't organize themselves across time. They can't sacrifice the moment for the future. And the more sophisticated you get, I suppose, in some sense, the more you're able to do that. And then your freedom becomes the freedom to choose the proper responsibility. And that's also not something that we've been good at communicating to young people. If we talk to them about responsibility, we generally do it in a finger-wagging sort of way. It's like, well, you're breaking the rules, you're a bad person. And well, that may be true because people break the rules and there's no shortage of badness in people. But the proper message for young people is to say, well, no, you don't understand. You want to take on responsibility. You want to take on the heaviest load that you can conceive of, that you might be able to move, because it gives your life nobility and purpose. And that offsets the tragedy. And not only psychologically, not only does it offset it psychologically because you have a purpose and something to wake up for, right, and to face the difficulties of the day, but also because if you face the difficulties of the day properly, you actually ameliorate suffering, not only in the psychological sense, but because you make the world at least a less terrible place. And that's something, right? To move things away from hell is something, even if you're not, self-evidently moving forthrightly to heaven. To move things away from the worst they can be is, well, that's a noble goal in and of itself.
See, people are always talking about freedom, but they're always thinking how to bind themselves to something or somebody. If you're really lost in your life, you're absolutely free, isn't it? Hello? No? Freedom is a territory which needs lot of maturing and culturing to handle. Otherwise, people doing compulsive things, they're thinking they're free. These are compulsive things. Somebody is drinking, if you say, why don't you not drink today, you can do it tomorrow. Why don't I have the freedom to drink? No, it's compulsive. If you're calling your compulsiveness as freedom, it's very unfortunate. You lost all your freedom in compulsiveness. So freedom is that kind of a territory where you have to culture yourself, mature yourself to exist free. Everybody, I think at some point, we provide these opportunities for young people to come and just be by yourself. No compulsive talking, no phone, no drink, no nothing, simple. You eat what you want for nourishment and then simply be. Everybody must spend at least a little bit of time like this, because only then you understand how compulsive you are. Unfortunately, we are translating compulsiveness as some kind of a goal in our life or freedom in our life. No. See, if you want to get somewhere in your life, get somewhere does not mean be better than somebody, do this, earn this, that, no. As a life, your experience of life should become a fantastic experience. So right now, all the crazy things that people are doing in their life, why? They drink, sexuality, temple, this, meditation, whatever they're doing. Why are they doing? Because they want their experience of life to become pleasant. Yes or no? Somebody hits the bottle, somebody hits somebody else, and somebody does something else, but essentially looking for pleasantness. If your body becomes pleasant, we call this health. I'm talking yoga now to you, officially. If your body becomes pleasant, we call this health. If it becomes very pleasant, we call it pleasure. If your mind becomes pleasant, we call this peace. If it becomes very pleasant, we call it joy. If your emotions become pleasant, we call it love. If it becomes very pleasant, we call it compassion. If your very life energies become pleasant, we call this blissfulness. If it becomes very pleasant, we call it ecstasy. If your surroundings become pleasant, we call this success. Only for this last one, to make our surroundings pleasant, we need the cooperation of many forces around us. Many things have to fall into place. But to keep your body pleasant, mind pleasant, emotion pleasant, your life energy is pleasant, it's 100% your business, not good for the business.
I'm the why guy. I don't know why you do what you do. What is your motive for action? What is it that drives you in your life today, not 10 years ago, or are you running the same pattern? Because I believe that the invisible force of internal drive activated is the most important thing in the world. I'm here because I believe emotion is the force of life. All of us here have great minds. You know, most of us here have great minds, right? I don't know if I'm in the category, but we all know how to think. And with our minds, we can rationalize anything, we can make anything happen. We can, I agree with what was described a few days ago about this idea that people work in their self-interest, but we all know that you don't work in your self-interest all the time. Because when emotion comes into it, the wiring changes in the way it functions. And so it's wonderful for us to think intellectually about how the life of the world is, and especially those who are very smart. We can play this game in our head, but I really want to know what's driving you. And what I'd like to maybe invite you to do by the end of this talk is explore where you are today for two reasons. One, so that you can contribute more. And two, so that hopefully we can not just understand other people more, but maybe appreciate them more and create the kinds of connections that can stop some of the challenges that we face in our society today. They're only going to get magnified by the very technology that's connecting us, because it's making us intersect. And that intersection doesn't always create the view of everybody now understands everybody and everybody appreciates everybody. So I've had an obsession basically for 30 years. And that obsession has been what makes the difference in the quality of people's lives? What makes the difference in their performance? Because that's what I got hired to do. I got to produce the result now. That's what I've done for 30 years. I get the phone call when the athlete is burning down on national television and they were ahead by 5 strokes and now they can't get back on the course. And I got to do something right now to get the result or nothing matters. I get the phone call when the child is going to commit suicide and I got to do something right now. And in 29 years, I'm very grateful to tell you I've never lost one in 29 years. It doesn't mean I won't someday, but I haven't done it. And the reason is an understanding of these human needs that I want to talk to you about. So when I get those calls about performance, that's one thing, like how do you make a change? But also I'm looking to see what is it that's shaping that person's ability to contribute, to do something beyond themselves. So maybe the real question is, you know, I look at life and say there's 2 master lessons. One is there's the science of achievement, which almost everyone in this room has mastered to an amazing extent. That's how do you take the invisible and make it visible, right? How do you take what you dream about and make it happen, whether it be your business, your contribution to society, money, whatever it is for you, your body, your family. But the other lesson of life that is rarely mastered is the art of fulfillment. Because science is easy, right? We know the rules, you write the code, you follow the, and you get the result. Once you know the game, you just, you up the ante, don't you? But when it comes to fulfillment, that's an art. And the reason is it's about appreciation and it's about contribution. You can only feel so much by yourself. So I've had an interesting laboratory to try to answer the question of the real question, which is what's the difference in somebody's life if you look at somebody like those people that you've given everything to, like all the resources they say they need. You gave them not a $100 computer, you gave them the best computer. You gave them love, you gave them joy, you were there to comfort them. And those people very often, and you know some of them I'm sure, end up the rest of their life with all this love, education, money, and background, spending their life going in and out of rehab. And then you meet people that have been through ultimate pain, psychologically, sexually, spiritually, emotionally abused, and not always, but often they become some of the people that contribute the most to society. So the question we got to ask ourselves really is, what is it? What is it that shapes us? And we live in a therapy culture. Most of us don't do that, but the culture is a therapy culture. And what I mean by that is the mindset that we are our past.
I want to talk to you today about unclutter your mind. We're tempted to live guilty because of past mistakes, bitter over what didn't work out. We wonder why we don't enjoy life, why we're not passionate about dreams, why we can't sleep at night. It's because our mind is cluttered. You weren't created to live worried, guilty, bitter, upset. If you're going to reach your destiny, you have to clear out the clutter. You can't stop negative things from coming, but you can keep them from staying. You don't have to hold on to it. When we make mistakes, guilt will come. Condemnation, telling us how we don't measure up. You can hold on to it, go around down on yourself, or you can let it go. When you go through a disappointment, something doesn't work out, you can hold on to it, live discouraged, or you can let it go. When the medical report is not good, when the contract doesn't go through, when you're in a legal situation, you can hold on to it, live worried, thinking, what am I going to do? Or you can let it go. You can clear out the clutter. You can get rid of the negative things that are stealing your peace, taking your joy, draining your energy. The scripture tells us to guard our minds. You have to be proactive when it comes to keeping your mind in peace, because all through the day there's clutter. There's noise, there's jealousy, there's hurts, there's offense. They may come, but you don't have to hold on to it.
Reinterpreting our past, understanding and knowing that we can move from where we are, that we can begin to design the kind of life that empowers us, that gives us happiness, that enable us to be on top of who we are, knowing that as we begin to explore new horizons and new vistas in life, that as we begin to focus on developing ourselves, as we begin to elevate ourselves and not to follow the crowd, activating the thinker in us and disciplining and putting on hold the emotional part of ourselves. It's not easy, but through practice and practice and practice, practice makes what? Practice makes improvement. You can always better your best. You can always go beyond anything that you have ever done. You'll never hit a state of perfection. You're always bigger than what you do. And so all you're looking for are new breakthroughs through practice and practice and practice. You'll get better and better and better. And there's still some things that will happen to you that will catch you on the blind side that you did not anticipate. You'll get knocked down, but you won't be knocked out. You'll be able to get to your feet again, be on the ropes, but you'll have a fast recovery rate when you work on yourself.
Hard work matters. Why does hard work matter? Well, hard work matters strategic because if you make more phone calls, you do the old adage, right? Show up earlier than everybody else, leave later. But there's something more deep about that. Yes, making more phone calls, seeing more people, being more active, being busier, putting in more hours into something always gives you a strategic chance to be more successful in it because you've increased your odds. You've talked to more people, you're more likely to get more prospects, you're more likely to get more clients or recruits or candidates for your business. So yes, strategically that increases your chances, but something powerful happens when you do things other people aren't willing to do. You begin to believe you deserve to have things other people won't have. And that's what gets you a seat at the table of success. Now once you're there, it's a dogfight. It's a dogfight of skills and talents and luck and faith and circumstance and blessing and all that stuff. But just to get to the table, to get into the room, you have to believe you deserve to be there. And so again, I want to say this to you. The hard work part plays into shifting your identity. That over time, not even that long a period of time, when you're doing the things others are unwilling to do, you begin quietly to begin to believe that, oh, I deserve to be rewarded in ways these other people aren't going to be rewarded because I'm doing the things others won't do. And so the fastest way to change your identity, to change our belief, is just to flat get to work, to flat get there earlier, to flat leave later, to just make more calls, see more people, be more relentless, just pour ourselves into the work, because actually the hard work can in reverse impact our identity. And that's what begins to happen. When you start to do those things they won't do, you begin quietly to change your belief. That you begin to believe, oh, I deserve to sit at the table with these other people who do the things other people aren't willing to do.
That there's a responsibility to freedom and that there is freedom in responsibility. You know, and that earn your way there. We remember the stuff we earn, the stuff we experience, more than what the teacher tells us or what someone gives us for free. We just do. We broke the proverbial sweat on it, whether it was mental or physical or whatever. We built it. We understand. We felt how we got it, how we achieved it, how we got what we wanted. Those stick with us. Whether we forget them intellectually, they were written in our lineage, and they build resilience, and they build a healthy, true optimism going forward to know that, oh no, I've worked for something before and achieved it. Delayed gratification. Oh, there are choices I can make today for myself that will pay me back later in life. Mailbox money, as we call it in the entertainment industry. ROI. there are specific personal choices we can make, and they're worth considering. Look, I'm all for hedonism. I'm all for immediate gratification too. Sometimes it's like, yes, dude, it's Halloween. Eat all the candy you want. Go for it. It's not going to become a habit day to day. There's certain nights where you're like, hey guys, tonight we're going to blow it out. The walls are padded and we got nothing. We're off work on Monday. Let's go. You know, I mean, certain times to say that's okay, but there's, you know, where is the selfish choice, the selfless choice? Where is what we want actually what we need? Where is what we need actually what we want? Where is the best choice for me, the best choice for we? Where's the best choice for we, the best choice for me? That's the place, I believe, talk about honey holes, that's the real place to go forward in trying to find. Tee ourselves up for those green lights in the future. And the simple thing, let me bring it down to really simple. You drink coffee? Do you prepare your coffee, put it in the filter, and pour the water in the coffee maker the night before?
Not for myself, but ironically, I do for my wife.
Because you're teeing her up for what? A green light the next morning.
Correct.
So she doesn't have to come in and go, where's that filter? She can just come in and go, doop, press the button. You're giving her a gift to her future self. You're making something easier for her. It's a very simple thing, but it's a great little simple metaphor. So there are choices we make. If you're going to say right now, I'm going to lie, cheat, and steal to get what I want, and I got it. I got an immediate green light for me. That's a battery-powered green light. That's not a solar-powered green light. Why? Because now, everywhere I go, I got to look over my shoulder to see if someone's there that I lied, cheat, and stole from. And when I'm doing that, I'm stealing whose time? My time. Now I'm not freedom. I'm not free. I don't have the freedom. I didn't create freedom in my future because I chose to make an irresponsible act that I left crumbs. I've now got reasons to look over my shoulder. And the more things we do to create in our future that we got to look over our shoulder, the more of our most precious thing we have in our life's time that we're stealing from ourselves. So it's not puritanical. It's just like, it's actually self-serving. It's a very selfish choice. And I'm a fan of the word selfish. I've helped redefine it. But I believe that there are selfish choices we can make that are the most selfless, that there are selfless choices that we can make that are the most selfish choices. Those two are not a contradiction, and we see them that way. Responsibility of freedom and the freedom in responsibility. Life's more than just straight Saturdays with as much cake as you want to eat. It just is. We'll see how long you last doing that, if you really do it. You won't last that long. Responsibility is appreciation of a past. It's building of a lineage. It's investing in ourselves. It's investing in something we started to build yesterday that we want to take into tomorrow. There's a response that gives us freedom. So to actually have true freedom, we have to be responsible, more responsible for certain things, for ourselves, who we are, constantly investigating and interrogating our better selves to say, I'm going to be a little bit better at this tomorrow, knowing that we never land. There's no ta-da moment. And that is one thing I think we all got to watch. We all are so result oriented. Oh, if I keep doing this, I'm going to get to that place of pure enlightenment. I'm going to go, ta-da! Bullshit. No, you don't. Can it be a small ascension of evolution? Yes. But there's no ta-da moment. We're always chasing yet. And if we can get comfortable and understand and laugh at and be ready to work hard at the fact that we're all just, if we could just say, we're all just achieving our way to the unachievable. And that's as good as it gets. And that's pretty damn awesome. That's the honey. It's the third time I've said that in this talk, but I love that word.
This is what people need to know is like, you know, even if you've been working for 10 years on something, because you've been working on your craft for a decade as a monk and then just teaching in schools and then corporate life and then HuffPo, like you've been working behind the scene for 10 years. It can take, you know, a few pieces of content or one piece of content that will be the thing that sets you off with momentum. You know, someone like Rachel Hollis, she spent 10 years writing books and doing events with a few hundred people max. And then one piece of content, a book, launched her. And you had these videos that just, they all launched. And it took you to another level. So in this book you have now coming out, it's going to be a game changer. I was just reading through it again before I got here. And I was just like, there's so much great information in this. but it's wisdom from the years of practice and years of experience. So that's what I think people need to know is like, if you're a creator, if you're someone who's got a gift inside, all it takes is one piece of content for you to really pop. So just keep creating. And that's what you've done beautifully. You keep showing up.
Man.